Good morning, my name is Chris Adlam with Youth Pledge for Employers, and I'm delighted to be joined by Kelly Banthorpe, the manager of Salhouse Broad. Hello, Kelly.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Yes, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for giving up your time this morning. I'm sure you're, busy and in demand. And I guess my first question really has to be, can you tell us about Salhouse Broad and what it is you do?
Okay, so Salhouse Broad is located in the heart of the Norfolk Broads. We are close to Wroxham. We're probably the closest broad to Norwich. Here we have a campsite, we have boat moorings, and we run canoe and kayak hire. We also occasionally run some events. So people either come for those activities, or we get a lot of people that come and use our car park and just walk down to walk their dog, or come and bring a picnic. Kids paddle in the water close to our beach area. So we get a lot of, it's a big mix. People just come to enjoy the area because, there's not a huge amount of the Norfolk Broads that you can access by foot. So we get a lot of that as well.
No, brilliant. And as you said, you're a manager there, and you've just listed off lots of different areas that need managing and lots of different tasks that need managing. Can you just give us a sort of a little overview, maybe, of some of the other roles and the sort of people you work with, as I say, and the people you manage to help, as I say, sort of make the Broad what it is?
Okay, so there's permanent staff. There's only two of us. There's myself and Paul. So I'm office based, and I deal with pretty much everything from marketing to bookings to customer service, the lot. So I deal with everything that side. And then on site, I've got Paul, our main ranger, who does a lot of the maintenance. In the winter, especially, we get a lot of our big maintenance jobs done. And then in the summer, he's sort of the main ranger down there who looks after the day-to-day running of everything. Like I said, the campsite, the boat moorings, and the canoe and kayak hire, and just make sure the site's all ship shape and sorted. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And from a management point of view, then looking at you, as I say, sort of the management skills you have to display when it comes to maybe your summer season, or when these other events on, and maybe they're actually temporary staff who need to get involved. Sort of, can you talk to me a little bit about sort of the process you go through there? So, maybe if we give an example, imagine I'm coming to you saying, okay, I want to put this big event on in the summer. From your point of view, how do you approach that?
So I would have on-site meetings with you, and then we would look at what event was what event it was, whether it's something that we can facilitate, and then we would look at the logistics of how that might happen, and where vehicles are going to come in, or any restrictions we've got with planning, for example, or I would need to look at risk assessments. I would need to look at the insurance liability, all of these things. So, and then the logistics of then how it happens and how we promote it. So the marketing of it, all those kind of things. So I would literally follow it through from the beginning right through to the end. And then obviously the Paul and our seasonal rangers, because then we have a lot of seasonal workers that help us in the busy season from April to October. Obviously they can then help with the day-to-day if there's anything that's happening. But yeah, I would see it right through from the beginning to the end.
No, fantastic. That's a really nice sort of succinct way of explaining what I know is definitely not going to be a straightforward process.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you've tried to sort of, as I say, keep it brief and summarize there. And it strikes me actually that as I say, in your sort of role as manager, it's almost like being a project manager, I guess, isn't it? In terms of you've got, as I say, and it's just a project that I guess there's always something going on. It's evolving. There's different things as well. So what I was going to ask you is, what sort of skills and traits do you feel that sort of you display and need to do that, as I say, almost project managerial role?
I think you need to be really well organized. I'm always keeping lists of what needs to happen, and having good customer service skills, just being able to have good people skills. Just, I think, I say customer service, I think, just because I have got a big a lot of experience in customer service, and I think that just that dealing with people and being able to talk to people is really valuable, because that's most of the thing is about communication, knowing what someone wants, knowing what what they want to achieve, or and being able to work with that. And it is all about communication, I think, a lot of it, and planning, organization, and communication are the three main things, I think.
No, that's brilliant, and it's really interesting to hear you sort of, like say, explain about the skills you're using and how you're using them. Because I guess for a lot of people, like I might go to the Broad in the summer. I might enjoy your activities while I'm there for the day. I won't think about, as I say, the management that's required in darkest November, or or in the winter. So it's actually interesting to hear what's going on behind the scenes. As I say, the kind of skills you're having to display, the kind of decisions that are having to be made, and that's really interesting. And it sort of leads me quite nicely on to my next question. I ask all organisations this, and I know there's no such thing as a typical day. I will throw that out there right away. I'm aware there's no such thing as a typical day, especially probably in this role. But if you had to describe to me maybe sort of the kind of things you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and maybe even how, as you've sort of touched on already, how that's affected seasonally, what kind of things are you dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it does differ definitely seasonally for me. So in the winter, it is working with Paul. We're always looking at what needs doing on site, always mindful, like we've got a lot of trees on site, for example, so we're always mindful that after big winds, that we need to be checking those. And so my day could be, if Paul's not in, it might be me going out to check trees. It might be me out on the river in a boat going to check our river moorings. It might be, he is more out of the office than I am, but for me, yeah, I mean, it can be that. It can be so diverse, and which is something that I love about the job. But yeah, so in the winter, it is some of the boring things like having to go over risk assessments and obviously make sure they're all up to date and that kind of thing, and thinking ahead about what booking systems we're using and any things like that need to change, and implementing those in the down season. And then in the main summer season, it's dealing with it's more sort of dealing with the inbox, dealing with the emails that are coming in, the bookings that are coming in, and just making sure that everyone, that they're dealing with staffing, dealing with rotas, making sure that we've got the right staffing levels, that everyone knows what they're doing, everyone's happy, and everything's working, and on site everything's safe, and yeah, everyone's having a nice time.
No, that's brilliant. And you've actually almost answered my next question, in terms of I like to ask sort of organisations or people about what their good days are like and their bad days are like. But clearly, the good days are going out on a lovely boat across the Broads to check on the health of trees. The bad days are getting lost in booking systems. So I could
it can be a bit challenging.
Out of curiosity, I'm assuming, I guess, working, as I say, sort of in the role you do you have to work collaboratively with sort of a lot of other organisations? I'm thinking maybe from a nature point of view, or do you have to work with, say, the Broads Authority, or maybe, I don't know, sort of RSPBs and these kind of organisations in, as I say, sort of the upkeep from a nature perspective? Or
yeah, so that's another part of the role as well, is that we do obviously have a beautiful site that we need to look after and conserve. So we have a really good group of volunteers that we have every Wednesday, and we carry out different tasks. Like we've done traditional hedge laying, we've done some erosion control where we've cut down, we might have coppiced some willow on the site, and then we've bundled that up to use on another part of the site where we've got some erosion happening. We also have something called Himalayan balsam that grows here, so we pull that out. But we work with Natural England, who have a site just across the river from us. And we're talking actually about next year about swapping volunteers and helping each other with their Himalayan balsam, because it gets quite tiresome. So just having a different area to deal with can be quite nice, because take the volunteers out on the boat, and then it makes it a bit more exciting for them. So we have to try and keep things fun for them too. So we work with Natural England. We also, there's been a lot of bird flu around the Broads that you've probably heard of, so we've had to deal. We've worked quite closely with locally with the RSPCA, have been really helpful with that. We also work with the Broads Authority. They're often patrolling around, so we get quite a good relationship with them, and the local police as well. They're often about, because things do happen, but yeah, they're often about, and very, it's, and Broadspeet, who are the on water police. So yeah, we work with them as well.
No, brilliant. And it goes to, as I say, sort of goes back to what you said in terms of a big part of your role, as you say, sort of being customer service, getting along with people, building relationships and rapport. And as I say, if you couldn't, as you couldn't be in the role you're in if you didn't have that ability to say to work with all of these different external organizations as well.
Exactly. Yeah. We're all here to work together and help each other out, and you can't really work in isolation here. It just doesn't doesn't work.
Yeah.
No.
Just going back to touch briefly on the volunteers you were talking about as well. Two parts really. One, if someone watching this video was interested in volunteering, what would the process be? And two, what kind of traits, say you're working directly with these volunteers, what kind of personality traits and sort of skills and things are you looking for from them?
So if somebody wanted to be a volunteer, they can get in contact with me in the office. So the email address is theranger@salhousebroad.org.uk. Pop us an email and we can have a chat. But really, just someone who's interested in conservation, someone who's interested in working outside, being outside in all weathers. We don't always, sometimes we're out in the rain, sometimes we're out in the scorching heat, like I said, pulling up the Himalayan balsam. So yeah, it's all weathers. And yeah, just someone who's keen to get involved. You don't necessarily need to have any prior experience, but yeah, it's just keen to be part of a team as well, because obviously we're all working together. So a team worker. Yeah, it's really a someone who's really interested and keen to get involved, I think.
No, brilliant. And I think you've hit the nail on the head that you probably need that extra keenness, passion and interest, especially to do the volunteering in December and January.
Yeah.
I guess you get an influx of volunteers in August and September, I'm sure. But I guess it's definitely important to have that interest. You've touched a little bit on this already. I'm not saying you didn't wake up one day and think to yourself, you know what, I want to be the manager at Salhouse Broad, when I'm older. But sort of this final question really comes in two parts. One, can you tell me a little bit about sort of your career path, the skills you've picked up and how you are where you are now? And the second and final part of that question is, if you could go back, taking into account the lessons you've learned, the experiences you've had, if you could go back and speak to, let's say, 17-year-old Kelly, you're about to sort of go out and, get your first job or go out on your career journey, what piece of career advice would you give to your younger self?
Okay, so yeah, my career's gone quite in a few different directions. I went to, I did college. I can't remember, what did I do? Psychology, media studies and biology, and then I went to university where I studied media production and photography. I had some time out. I went to Australia, I went to Africa, and then I ended up working for Norwich City Council in waste and recycling, went on to be a service development officer, so very much customer focused. And then lived in France for 6 years.
Wow.
Again, working for hotels and things where I was basically office based, so dealing with accommodation and things like that and customer service. Came back to England and found myself here at Salhouse Broad. So it's been quite there's been sort of a customer service element to the whole thing, but it's been it's been a little bit quite varied. So,
and actually, just to interrupt before you get to the final part of the answer as well, I was just going to say, like, is it something that early on in your sort of career path you actually realised you just realised customer service is what you were good at, it's what you liked? What made you think actually this is the core sort of aspect I want to keep no matter which way my career path goes, if you see what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how I don't think it was. I don't know if it's been that intentional, but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy working. I do enjoy working with people, and I like like being part of providing a service and working as part of a team, even though we're a very small, quite a small team.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I do enjoy that, and I enjoy, you know, when people, you know, when you get the feedback and say that people have enjoyed their stay, and
Yeah.
you know, they love it, and they, you know, they want to, they've been coming for years, and they've had their photograph taken with the famous oak tree on our part, you know, on the path down, and you know, it's nice to hear those stories, and it's nice to be part of that. Yeah, so I think, yeah, even that, I don't know if I've intentionally thought it, but they're the jobs that I've always, I suppose, naturally gravitated to. So, yeah, I love working with people.
Fantastic. And so, as I say, taking into account all those different things you've learned and experiences you've had, you know, what advice, career advice specifically, would you give to 17-year-old Kelly?
I think not to be afraid of just trying lots of different things. You know, when you're 17, you've got so much time, and I think you don't realize how much time you have to try different things. You don't need to be set on one particular career path. I mean, you might know, and that's brilliant, but for those, there's so many people that don't know, and that's okay. I think just to know that you've got time to try things out. You know, go and you know, anything that you have a hobby in and interest in, go and try it. You know, go and try it out, or other things that you just find interesting, just go and try it, because the more things you try, the more you'll know what is your career path. I think yeah, I think that would be my advice. You've got time, I think, would be my advice.